The Japanese Mark II square lashing has found its way into scouting in the United States through wood badge training in England, and because of the work of John Thurman, camp chief of Gilwell. He observed it on one of his many world trips related to wood badge training. James Keller, director of the Pioneering Action Center for the 2013 Boy Scout National Jamboree, related a story about the Japanese Mark II square lashing. He described how back in 1993, Adolf Peschke, who was responsible for the staff training of the Action Center's pioneering areas, had mandated that all of his staff should just use the Japanese Mark II square lashing for the Jamboree's pioneering projects. Some of the pioneering staff back then had not as of yet become familiar with the lashing, and at first some were a little hesitant to adopt it. But, after becoming acquainted, their overwhelming consensus was, why had they wasted so much time over the years using the traditional square lashing? This lashing is a straightforward approach to the task of lashing two spars together. Begin by folding the lashing rope in half. The midpoint of the rope is placed around the vertical spar and just under the crossing spar. Now work both ends of the rope at the same time, making 3 wraps around the spars. After completing the 3 wraps, bring the 2 ends up between the spars in opposite directions to make the frapping turns around the wraps. Pull the frapping turns tight and complete the lashing by tying the 2 ends with a square knot. It's that simple. Getting ready for our first wrap. You start the first wrap, both hands working at the same time. Continuing our first wrap, here's a side view. Completing our first wrap, a view from the rear. Cross the ropes in the back. Starting our second wrap, also a view from the rear. Continuing our second wrap under the crossbar, a view from front. You send the ropes to the back, still a front view here. Cross the ropes underneath, again a view from the other side. Send the ropes back to the front. And you start your third wrap. You continue the third wrap over the crossbar, and in the back, you cross them on top. You're done with your wraps. It's time to prepare to frap. This is a view from the side. Cross the ropes on top of the wraps. You take frapping turns between the spars. Complete 2 tight fraps. You finish up with a square knot, also known as a reef knot. Here's a view from the rear of the wraps. And here's a front view of the completed Japanese Mark II square lashing. The advantage of the Mark II square lashing is that you're working both ends of the rope at the same time. This makes it much quicker to tie since each end has less rope to pull through. The Japanese Mark II square lashing has the same holding effect as both the traditional and modified square lashings. It's just a whole lot quicker.